What is going on, guys? Matt O'Leary back with another video. Today we are evaluating Zach Wilson's performance against the Denver Broncos in the New York Jets 31-21 win. Excited for the Jets to be back in the win column. That was most important. But something that we usually do, at least we did the last couple of weeks, was take a look at Zach Wilson's performance, how he played in some of these games, and specifically in this one against the Denver Broncos. I thought he was okay. There were some good moments. There were some not so good moments and some middle of the road moments. So we'll go through that. Let's first take a look at the standard box score numbers and then get through the good, the bad, and the okay. 19 of 26, which is a 73.1 completion percentage. Back-to-back weeks over 70% completion percentage. Pretty unheard of for Zach Wilson. That's absolutely going to find its way in the positive. 199 yards, which is 7.7 yards per attempt. No touchdowns, one pick, a 78.8 rating. Okay, so let's start with that good. Something that I mentioned just there is the completion percentage, 73.1%. Back-to-back weeks over 70%. This is someone who's usually somewhere between 50 and 55% completion, which, as you know, is way too low. That is way too low of a number for a quarterback in the NFL in 2023. So for that increasing, you absolutely have to take that as a positive. The yards per attempt going up, like 7.7, that's a pretty good number. If you're taking anything, I think if you really take from him anything over 7 is pretty solid. 7.7 is considered on the higher side, and that is, again, you absolutely sign up for that. That means you're getting the ball down the field a little bit instead of just taking the underneath stuff, which Zach Wilson did a lot of underneath stuff, and that's okay. You sign up for that. You take what's there, and was also able to make a couple of big plays in this game. And let's talk about those big plays. There were two that really stand out to me from the passing perspective from Zach Wilson. The first is the throw to Garrett Wilson off the play action on first down. Really nice play, really nice pocket. And they bit hard on the play action, and hard for them not to bite hard. It's how Breece Hall was running. It's really no surprise that they were able to get the defense to bite on the play action. That's honestly something that I wish Nathaniel Hackett worked in more yesterday, because the play action was working so well against the Kansas City Chiefs, and Zach Wilson looks the best passing off of the play action. So it only makes sense for you to build that in and do that a little bit more. And I think that's something that they really need to do. It works. They were able to get the ball down the field. It was a nice big play. Loved the throw to Garrett Wilson. It was put in a good spot. He sold the play action well. There was a clean pocket. Like, there's really a lot to like from that play. So that's absolutely a positive. And the other is on that drive towards the end, the third down completion on 3rd and 4 to Tyler Conklin. So third and manageable, which is important. Zach Wilson checks into this play, which is also a big key. Tyler Conklin talked about how Zach Wilson checked into the play and made a really good call.
3rd and 4, that place was rocking. You couldn't hear yourself thinking there, and then Zach makes a hell of a check at the line of scrimmage to, change us to a play for that look, and he makes a great throw, and get north and south and see what happens.
And then delivered an absolute strike to the tight end and picked up the first down to extend the drive in a time where you needed to eat up clock, get the ball down the field, and keep the drive going. That was a really big throw. That was a big-time throw in a big spot. That's something that you have to be really happy with. And that was, again, a really big play in the game and an important moment in the game. The middle of the road. This is not, I'm not going to say it's good. It wasn't a good throw. I wouldn't say it was bad, and I'll explain why. But the interception. So the reason why this is an is because there's a 50-50 ball to his best player. So that is, I don't mind him taking 50-50 shots to Garrett Wilson. The thing is, Patrick Surtain is at worst the second best corner in the league. You can make a case that he is the best cornerback in football. And it really should have been more of a back shoulder throw. Instead, it was too low, way too low, and way too close to Surtain, which is why he was able to make a play. And credit to Pat Surtain. He made an unbelievable play on the football. There's no denying that Patrick Surtain made an unbelievable play on the football. Like, sometimes that happens. The defense gets paid too, and you get that. And he's definitely thrown worse interceptions than that. But at the same time, like, the spot that it was, you're driving, you need points, the ball placement, again, has to be more back shoulder rather than kind of out in front, and that's what led to the interception. So I'm not going to kill him for it. I'm not going to put that in the absolute bad category. Things could absolutely be significantly worse. There are worse things from this game that he did. It wasn't a good throw either, and it's, again, worthwhile to mention that and bring up. Now for some bad, because there was some bad, and some that I think you absolutely have to talk about and is absolutely a part of the conversation when discussing Zach Wilson's performance against Denver. The fumbles. Not good. Ball security. You have to be able to hold on to the football. He had 2. Thankfully, both were recovered. Honestly, could have been 3 on one of the scrambles where he's trying to get a first down. You have to be able to hold on to the football. It's not good. He had a fumble in a bad spot against Kansas City, and this past week against Denver, both times fumbled the football. Luckily, the Jets were able to fall back on it, so it wasn't a turnover at least, which that I guess you could take as a slight positive spin, but you can't fumble the ball in those spots. That was really not good. But the absolute worst thing from this game, from Zach Wilson, in my opinion, this does not fall on the coaches, is what happened, the sequence at the end of the first half. So let's run through this. Zach Wilson throws to CJ Uzomah, obviously going to be inbounds, and they get up to about roughly the 10-ish yard line. CJ Uzomah goes down with 10 seconds. So they have 10 seconds to get up to the line of scrimmage, get set, and spike the ball. The only one going up with any sort of urgency is CJ Uzomah. The offensive line, Zach Wilson, pretty much everyone else, it does not have that same urgency getting up to the line of scrimmage. It's just, I don't know if they thought they had more time than they did, thought they had another timeout, what the situation was. And I heard a lot of people saying that's on the coaches. They have to have them prepared for that spot. They're not. The coaches aren't the one. Hackett and Robert Saleh are not the one on the football field at that point. They're not. It's, if you're going to be a functioning NFL quarterback, if you're going to be a good quarterback, you have to know the situation. You have to be able to get to the line of scrimmage and spike that. If it was Aaron Rodgers in there, you absolutely know he's yelling at the guys, getting them up to the line of scrimmage, getting set. It was like the ball was placed at 3 seconds, and then there's like, oh, we have to take an extra step up, and let's go slow and spike 0. And it was already too late at that point. Need to have more urgency and need to have more command in that spot. It's the little things, but that was really important, and thankfully it didn't come back to bite him. But you had a gimme for 3 points. Would have been able to come away with 3 points, which would have been nice, when you're sweating, you're only up 3 at the end there, and thankfully you go up 10 on a return, a fumble return for a touchdown. But like that, against good teams, that is going to cost you. You can get away with it against the Denver Broncos. You can get away with some of these things against a team that is just flat out putrid. But when your competition stiffens, you're not going to be able to get away with that stuff. You're flat out not. Against better coach teams, sorry, Sean Payton, but against better coach teams, you're not going to be able to get away with it. So I'm glad they came away with the win. And overall, I thought it was an okay performance, but those were the 2 bad things. So let's just kind of do an overall encompassing thing to close this one out. I did not like Nathaniel Hackett's play calling. And I know he got a game ball, and I'm happy for Nathaniel Hackett for going in there in Denver and winning that game after everything that Sean Payton said. Social media team was going off, so that was good. And look, they made it personal. Like CJ Uzomah said before the game, they made it personal. And I was hoping for a more aggressive approach from Nathaniel Hackett. Now, I'm not saying in the between the 20s, right? Like, because we'll talk about the red zone, I think, is where I have the most issue. They ran Breece Hall a lot, and he was working. So I understand why they did that. I'm not complaining about giving Breece Hall the rock, believe me. Some 2nd and 10 Dalvin Cook runs we could live without. We don't necessarily need that, although I will say Dalvin Cook looked better in this game. He definitely looked more effective in this game. And I'm glad that they featured Breece Hall so heavily and scaled back Dalvin a little bit. I think that was a wise decision, as it showed off with the box score stats from Breece Hall and the long touchdown run. But once they got down into the red zone, they went way too conservative, and this has to do with just the offense in general. And not really, this is not Zach Wilson's fault, but it has to talk about the game. They were 0 for 5 in the red zone and trying to convert to touchdowns. They settled for way too many field goals. And again, You take points for sure. Against teams like Denver, like you could survive settling for field goals, but against teams like the Kansas City Chiefs, who you played last week, against teams like the Philadelphia Eagles, and divisional opponents like the Bills and the Dolphins, and some other tougher teams that they're going to have to play, you can't get away with that stuff. You have to be more aggressive. You have to get the ball in the end zone. They did this a couple of times too. They had, it was a goal to go situation. It was 2nd and goal from like between the 7 and 10 yard line. And at least on 2 occasions, possibly more, they ran the ball in that spot. And it wasn't very successful because it's easier to defend against the run once you get down that far because you're just so stacked. Everyone's bumped up between the goal line and the 7 yard line, and you're raring to go that way. You have to be more aggressive and throw there on 2nd down. You don't necessarily have to go end zone shot, but I would have liked to see them get a little bit more aggressive and let Zach loose in the ends, down in the red zone. He only threw the ball 26 times. And again, I'm not saying 40 Zach Wilson throws every week, but a couple of little extra tweaks, get that number to 32 passing attempts, an extra, 5 to 8 passing attempts in this game. He probably goes over 200 yards, and maybe they convert one of those opportunities or 2 of those opportunities in the red zone. League average is like 70-something%. Down in the red zone and converting to touchdowns. They have to do a better job of getting the ball into the end zone when you're down there in the red zone. That's something they've struggled with for a really, really long time. I think the play calling had a major, major factor in that. But overall, I would say it was an okay performance from Zach Wilson. There was some good, there was some bad. If you're grading it on a scale of 10, it's like a 5 or a 6, somewhere around there, like a middle of the road, okay performance. We've seen a lot better. We've also seen a lot worse. If he plays a similar style to this every single week, they should be okay. I was expecting a little bit more against a really bad Denver Broncos team. He was okay in this game. We'll see how he fares against the Philadelphia Eagles, a much tougher opponent this upcoming week before the bye week. But Jets get the win. Excited about it. 31-21 win. Thank you for tuning in to today's video. Let me know your thoughts on Zach Wilson's performance, and I'll catch you next time.